And I was born right in this area, Grace Station, South Carolina, August 3rd, 1934. Emma and Tom Snow. Both of them are deceased now. It was five children, and I'm the older of the five. So now they look to me as mother, because both parents, as I said, are deceased. My older brother is a retired colonel from the Marine Corps, and he is a minister. He pastors a church in North Carolina. He's also a PhD. The next sister to me is deceased. She died from complication diabetes. The younger sister is still here. My baby brother is here. And I'm the parent of 4 children. My older son died from cardiac arrhythmia, 1997. Then my older daughter died in 2012 from renal disease. My younger daughter is working on her PhD in psychology. She lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's the mother of 2 children. The older daughter is now studying in Switzerland. She'll be going to Switzerland for 5 months. But she is a student at Queens College in Charlotte, North Carolina. The younger daughter is 15, and she likes art, so she makes a lot of money selling her artwork, and she loves that. Her husband is a PhD in psychology, and he loves that. We get along really well as a family. They look after me. My husband died working for the city of Georgetown. And at that time, I was 27. I got married young. And I went to work for Georgetown County Memorial Hospital in 1960. And I worked there from 1960 to 62. My husband got killed working for the city of Georgetown. Well, I had the 4 children. That was a task. In 1963, I got very sick and had to be hospitalized. I stayed in the hospital for 33 days. The doctor said I had rheumatoid arthritis. I couldn't walk. I had to be helped out of the bed and put back into the bed. And at this time, my job was still, with the hospital. But at that time, when I went in the hospital was very segregated. So I went to the hospital on a Sunday night, and they gave me an injection and sent me back home. Well, when I got home, I was seemed like I was worse off than I was before I went. And then Monday morning, I was so sick. We didn't have EMS like we had now. You had to call the undertaker. So I had to ride in the ambulance, and they took me to the hospital. When I got there, they had no beds because of the criteria. Segregation. I had to go in the hall. They put me on a bed in the hall. Everybody passing by see you down on a little cot, not on a bed, on a cot, looking down on you like that. Well, I stayed on that cot for about a week because my stay in the hospital was 33 days. And then they finally got a bed for me because beds for blacks were limited. And I finally got to where I could sort of help myself a little bit, but that was hard. But in the meantime, the doctor found some medicine to help me, you know, and I had friends that came in and, you know, helped to give me a bath and stuff because times were hard, nurses were few, and it was just hard to take, just being sick like that. No husband or 4 children, but I was blessed with loving parents. My mother kept my 4 children and she took them to school. Then I had one with asthma, and I was in a room where I could see my mother going to the pediatrician, taking the child in the morning, and in the evening I could see her taking the little girl to the pediatrician for that asthma thing. And then, in 1965, I was living with my mother, and the director of nurses called and said that she wanted to talk with me, and that whenever I came home to call her. So I called, and she said, you know, the hospital has got to be integrated. Because at that time, all black patients was on the first floor, and all black nurses was on the first floor. You see? So when I called her, she says, you know, I can think of no one else of color. No, you know, she didn't say of color, you know. But anyway, she said, I can think of no one else that I could offer this job to but you. I need somebody to go to work upstairs. And I'd like to start you off in the labor and delivery room. Well, I had worked in the operating room in Charleston. I knew how to set up a table and stuff like that. So I went to work in the delivery room for 2 weeks, and then I was moved to medicine. And in medicine, you had to do everything. So I stayed there and I worked there and I worked there and I worked there. And finally, the thing got open. And I was the first person of color to work up there, the LPN. I was the first LPN of color. In fact, I was the first LPN to be hired at that hospital of color. You understand? And then I went to work upstairs. And then in 60, I don't remember exactly what year, but they finally started a school in Georgetown. And when the school was started and the girls came through, I helped the girls with whatever they had to do to get. And I don't know how many of those girls are still alive now, but I know there's one girl in particular, her name is Joan Brown, that is always telling me, Miss Dorothy, you helped me so much. And there was one doctor that I liked, and he must have liked me too. He says, you know, you taught me so much, girl, because when I went into that hospital, I didn't know anything. But it was hard back then. They had one room on the first floor that was private, and whenever they need to use that room for semi-private, they made it a semi-private room. They had 101, 103, 105, 107. Those were the rooms on that end. And then we came to the nursery room, and the nursery was there, little babies. They didn't have a full-time nurse. We worked on the floor and put on a hospital shirt and went in and fed the babies and came out and went back to work on the floor, left the babies unattended. And the baby nursery was right next to a isolated unit. People of hepatitis or anything they had that was isolated was right next door to the black babies. I'm telling you, but grace and mercy prevailed. And we didn't lose not a baby, not ever a baby. I'm just grateful that during the time I worked there, thank God, that those babies lived. And not any of them choked or did anything. And we, as a people, saw it. It was hard struggle, but we made it through. See, when I went to the hospital, you could not wear nothing but a white dress. You couldn't wear white stockings. You couldn't wear your cap. You hear me? You just like anybody going downtown with an old white dress on, that's the way you look. And before it all over, you were in charge of a floor and looking after all the patients. You had to take a medical, a pharmacology course, and then you gave the medicines, and you took care of the patient. You were in charge. You gave the reports and everything like the nurses do today, except you wasn't on no computer. I liked working out there, and I didn't like working out there. Because I can remember vividly, here I am, a mother of 4 children. I worked Christmas Eve, 3 to 11. Well, Christmas morning, I didn't work to get off. I got off from work at 11 o'clock that night, Christmas Eve night. Christmas morning, I had to be back to work at 7. The thing that was so hard was from the time I went to the hospital to work till 1972, we got the same pay. You hear me? And the pay was so little. They got a new administrator. And this man said, people can't live off of that. We're going to have to increase their pay. And if a white LPN make this much money, a black LPN has to make it too. And don't you know, he didn't live long. On that job, he was gone. They didn't like him. And he, poor man, had to go. I went up to him one day and I told him, I said, I want you to know, I love you, I appreciate what you've done, and if at any time you are in Georgetown, please stop by. My doors are open all the time. And he thanked me. He said, you know, Miss Alston, I do thank you. And he said, the one thing I want you to know, I never made any difference between white and black. If you are Miss Alston, the next person is Miss so-and-so. I made no distinction with that. And that was the last time I saw him. We had a girl from upstate Pennsylvania or somewhere. And she saw the condition blacks were treated in that hospital. They were in rooms where the sockets wouldn't work and stuff. And she tried to get things better. And she called a meeting, and before she could get back to where everything was like it was before the meeting, honey, somebody then called the hospital administration and everything. And don't you know those people fired that girl, and everywhere she turned to get a job, they'd say, yeah, we're going to give you a job, and then call her back and say, no, that position is filled. We went up to Columbia. My son, the one that died from the arrhythmia, we drove up to Columbia and took her some money. And she went to Salvation Army and different places to get some money and to get help to get back home, because that hospital just blackballed her. She was a nice-looking, smart girl. So she finally, she used to live at Carroll Pines and up going next to the beach. And then when Hugo came, it messed up her house. So she moved up to Columbia. It was just so sad at how she got treated. And I don't know to this day how all that message got transferred from one place to the next. And I don't guess it was for me to know. But that's how people do you. But this little girl, that girl she was smart. But she went on back to Pennsylvania and she got her license to practice. Georgetown Memorial has come a long way. It has come a long way. I used to pay my fair share. I think at one time I was the only black person who paid the fair share because they said, I'm not going to pay no fair share. Whatever happened, happened. I said, no, I'd like to pay my fair share because I'd like for the hospital to be better. I don't want to have to run from Georgetown to Charleston. I want to be right here. But in the meantime, I think the hospital really let me down. When my son died in '97, the hospital didn't even send me a card. Not even a card. They didn't say, well, Dorothy, thank you for working all these years. Sorry your son died. They didn't say nothing. That sort of really hit the core of my heart. Because one time I was sick and the nursing office wanted me to come and lay in the bed at the hospital till the pharmacist come and give me something to take. But in the meantime, Heather, out of Claire, I know it was hard for them and it was hard for us too. But by the same token, I said we persevered. We persevered because there was some hard times. But by the same token, I'm here. I'm here. And I'm here by the grace of God. And I'm here because my thing was I love people. And I tried to treat people like I wanted. My thing was treating people the way I wanted to be treated. Always. And right now I meet people, oh, Dorothy, you know, my mom always talked about you. A lady called me last week and said, are you the Dorothy Alston who worked at the hospital? I said, I sure am. She said, but my mom always talked about you. How about that? We didn't, kill anybody. We didn't kill anybody. And the hospital was there for a job for us, because it could have been worse. You could have not had the job. And I could have had to travel. I wouldn't have wanted to travel back and forth to Charleston every day. But see, in Charleston, I worked in the operating room. Here I am in my own hometown, and to see all the black nurses on the bottom floor, all the black patients down there, I worked in Charleston, and patients were patients, but they had mixed nurses. The nurses were mixed, but they had all black nurses down with the all black patients. And that gave me a creepy feeling. It did. It was very creepy. But anyway, they survived. They survived. Then they had a little tiny dining area. Real little tiny dining area down on the first floor for the blacks. And they had a little larger area for whites. Oh yeah, you had to go upstairs in the balcony in that old, I didn't hardly ever go. You had to go up in that old balcony. And my thing was, I was always worried that people who went up in that balcony, if that thing caught a fire, they'd be burned up. Yeah. And I remember one time we were coming from school, and we went to this drug store. So it was a group of children, because we always had to walk from school. So we were in a line to get some ice cream. And this woman said, "We don't serve niggers here." I lived to invite that woman to dinner. And guess what she said? "Well, you got so many knives and forks here, I don't know which one to use." Well, it wasn't the thing, the dinner was not at my home, it was at my friend's home. She said, "You got so many knives," because she ended up working at the hospital and her daughter ended up working there too. So I said, you got to be careful how you speak to people, because the Bible says, "I make your enemies your footstool." I got some of the best friends right now, Heather, who, when I moved in this house, the man that lived across the street right there, he was evil to me. But along the line, I never did a harm thing to him. And he got sick one year and had to go to the hospital, and guess what? He ended up having renal failure. I had to take care of him. And then his poor little wife ended up with Alzheimer's. Well, we talked, and he says, "Dorothy, if something happened to me, I want you to speak a word at my funeral." I said, "Yes, sir." So he said, "And two, I want my children will give you something to remember me by." And they did. He had a 1990 Impala Chevrolet. Looked like new. They gave it to me. It was wrapped up in the garage. That man kept that place so clean. I said, if he could walk out of that mausoleum out there at Penarol, he'd walk out there and say, "What in the hell are you doing in my house?" Somewhat, in some cases, and in some cases not so. But for me, I just take one day at a time. One day at a time. Because you can't change an individual. Each person has to change themselves. Because you don't only have ugliness in the white race, you got it in the black race. That old man used to watch out for my house. If I went away, he was looking out for this house. And one day my little granddaughter got sick and I had to call the ambulance. And ran out so quick, didn't shut the door. He came over and closed the door and everything. Thank God for him. I miss him so much. I miss him so much. But Heather, I'm going to tell you, you be kind to somebody, somebody be kind to you. Because you don't know where or what is going to happen to you. And like I said, I had good days at the hospital and I had bad days at the hospital. during World War II. We lived up on a place called Kaminsky Farm, and my daddy in 1937, my daddy went to work for the International Paper Company, and he didn't have a car. He rode a bicycle. That's where that new environmental park is. You know what 88 Oak thing is? We live down there. And my father rode a bicycle from down there to International Paper Company and back every day. And then when the men folk all went to war, guess what? My mother got a job at the International Paper Company, and she rode the bicycle. We just migrated from down there, farther up the road, until we got up to Garrison's farm. And old Mr. Garrison had a big tract of land. And he loved my daddy and his brother, so he sold them an acre of land for $50. $50. And they built a house. And then we walked from where they live on the Gapway Road to Howard School. We walked every day to Georgetown, what they call Howard School. We walked every day and walked back. And if you were late, you got a paddling. And then, you know, whites rode the bus and they would throw out the old chewing gum and the old paper and stuff. But we made it. I guess it would take us about 2 hours or so to get there, Mo. And then it was like a whole lot of children. All the blacks in this area would be in, we always said a drove. We say it's a drove of children. I remember Mr. Scott, Mr. Drayton, Mr. Miller. Mr. Drayton is still alive. Miss Mozella Lawrence, she's still alive. Some of those teachers were so nice. I mean, teachers back then, these teachers used to dress. Now you can't tell the teachers from the students. Yes. And the thing is, you had to read, and we didn't have books at home. You had to get that stuff from the library or either borrow the book from someone else. My thing is getting others to read. I tell my grandchildren and other children when I see them, read, y'all please read. Get a book to read. I got a little girl, a little great-granddaughter, 2 of them. When they come home from school, they put their book back down, they get a book to read. They want to be, both of them want to be a doctor. They 8 and 7. No, they 7 and 9. Mm-hmm. So they got the A on roll. Mm-hmm. And the 2 times they've been, one of them is in 3rd and one of them is in 2nd grade. A person who sit there and don't read can't read. A person who won't read will never learn how to read. You got the opportunity to read. You got the books at hand to read. Read, I'm telling you. Them 2 little ones that I told you about just now, their cousin is a doctor in Charleston. The doctor's husband is the girl is a doctor and the husband is a doctor. And they went to dinner with them Christmas. And so the little girl says, you see, Mama, that's what I tell you. I'm going to be a doctor so I can help people, and I'm going to have me a big house just like this. So we grew up down there, and my daddy died in '99 and left the property to my baby brother, and he has not done a thing with it. He doesn't want us to go in the house because the house was left to him. I got out of high school and I went to Benedict College. And it didn't take me too long to decide that, hey, this college mess ain't for me. Honestly, I said, man, I need to get out here and find me a job where I can make me some money quick. So I met this girl that I went to school with, and she said, oh, Dorothy, you know what? I'm taking practical nursing. She said, and that's not going to take you but a year or something to finish. Why did you take that? Now, so I decided that's what I do. And I took the practical nursing and finished and did well. And I said, thank you, Lord. Got that. And then I took some courses. I went to Francis Marion and took some courses. I went to Clemson and took some courses, but I never pursued anything else. Year before last, when I decided that I would go to school, that's when the cancer hit me. So I said, well, thank God I've worked enough in a lifetime. My brother, the PhD, the minister, oh Lord, Heather, if I didn't have him to help me, I don't know what I'd do. Every month he'd send me a check. You know, all this war, when I built this house in 1963, my mom and daddy helped me every step of the way. My mom came over here one day and the carpenters were gone, and she said, we gone. So when they came back, we had already almost put all this floor in one room. So they didn't like that. You know how people are working by the hour? My granddaughter is doing a thing on Facebook where she's trying to get the family together. Mm-hmm. So they said, oh my Lord, my brother called last night and said, girl, you never did know your family was so big. She said, I know what your granddaughter go do with all them people. Oh, I had my 79th birthday out there in the yard. Aww. My children kept saying they're going to have, my grandchildren, they're going to have me a party. Oh, no, no, no. Mm-mm. No, ma'am, I ain't going to have no party. Just like that. And sure enough, August the 3rd, they had me a big party out there. They had the tents, and then they had pictures and everything all across the wall. And I enjoyed it. I said, who knows, next year I might not be here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suffered 3 hip surgery. I had a total hip on the right side, and then I had a revision of that hip, and then I had a hip surgery on the left side. I had a bone fusion, C4 and 5. Yep. There's a name it. I had cataracts 2 times. My thing is, I want to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. I've worked in so many homes, Heather, taking care of people. Ooh. Took care of a lot of doctors, too. One doctor who I took care of, he wanted to die. The doctor told me he had cancer. Told him on the one weekend, the next weekend he was dead. Because he turned off everything. He would not eat, he wouldn't drink or nothing. That's right, and he was gone. I said, I don't know if I could do that. But that's a good way to go, I think.